Hello, it's Bud. Let's talk about the concept of making a simple picture frame. What we want to do is we're going to deal with a picture that's 5 by 7, and you can expand on it as you need. So let's go to CarveWright. Let's bring up a new screen. A 5 by 7 picture. I'm thinking the paper itself is 5 inches by 7 inches. And it's upright in a portrait style. That's the actual picture frame, or not the frame, but the piece of paper with the picture on it. Okay, so if I make a frame, I want to make it larger than that. Let's go 2 inches more in each direction. That gives us an inch of wood beyond the edge of the paper. We'll probably expand that, but that just gives us a starting point depending on what all we're going to do. So I'm going to make it 7 in length and 9 in width instead of 5 by 7. And here we have that dimension. Okay? Now I'm on the front of the board. I'm going to draw a rectangle, and on the length, which is the first one, a 5-inch picture has a 1/4 inch border on it, so it's 4.5 of physical picture. I'm just guessing without using a ruler on the paper. And it will be 6.5 up and down. Layout wise, I want it centered both ways. That's going to be a cutout on the front of the board. The tab height is 1/8 of an inch. We have to come back to that. So remind me, we have to come back to that. I'm going to accept that. So now, if I look at the back of the board, I've got that same concept. Alright, now I want an indentation for the picture and for a piece of cardboard or whatever. And I'm not thinking about any glass right now. If I thought about glass, this next step would have to be deeper, and I'm going to have to compensate on some other things. I'm going to put a rectangle around this, and I'm going to make it an actual 5 and an actual 7. And I'm going to assign a 1/2 inch straight bit, and I'm going to make my depth, instead of a 1/4 of an inch, I'm going to make it 1/8 of an inch, which is a 0.125. And I'm going to center it both ways. Now if that doesn't give me enough, as I logic through this thing, I can always put another rectangle out here and increase it by a 1/4 or a 1/2 inch so that I have a bigger card. But remember, my rectangle is 5 by 7. Or, yeah, it should be 7. Something happened there. Okay. And that is the center of the 1/2 inch bit. So I'm going to be a 1/4 of an inch further out on both sides. Okay. So that's what I've got there. And I'm not going to put a second one. I'm just going to leave it with the 1. That's on the back of the board. And that's 1/8 of an inch deep. Go back to the front. And this rectangle is a cutout. What's going on here? There. No, I didn't want that. Excuse me, I will be back. Okay, I'm back to the front of the board. Here's my cutout. I'm going to come back to it. First clip takes it off. Second clip brings it back. It's got an 1/8 of an inch tab. Now that 1/8 of an inch tab is from the bottom of the board. I've taken an 1/8 of an inch off the back of the board in this area. So I'm going to have to increase that tab to 1/4 of an inch. That tells me I cannot go 1/4 inch deep on the back and use this concept. It would be nice if the cutout tool would be able to give us different heights, higher tabs if we happen to make deeper stuff on the back, but we'd have to do them by hand versus the other. So I'm going to do 1/4 of an inch and accept it. And that's my cutout. Now I can see that, I don't have a whole lot of board left here. Let's put an edge on it so that we have a better concept. Let's use a 1/2 inch classical. Now let's back up a minute. I want to see something here on the cutout. I don't like to make the cutout in one pass. It'll work in some woods. It'll work better for some people than it does others. It depends on your cutting bit. But I'd rather be safe and set a maximum pass depth of a 0.2, which means it's going to take several passes to go around and do that cutout. It will put less stress on the machine and the bit, and that's the way I can compensate for any kind of wood I use, whether it's cherry, whether it's pine, whatever. I know that I'm going to be fairly safe, so I want to do that max pass depth. Okay, just so we know what's going on. Now we'll go to the edge, and let's get that 1/2 inch classical. It's going to go 1/2 inch deep. I'm going to leave it at that. Again, max pass depth. I'm going to do a 0.2. So it's going to take 3 passes to go around. The first are both going to be at 200ths. The last one will be at 100th, which could conceivably eliminate any burns that it did during the first two, because it's like a cleanup pass. And that's what I like about the max pass depth. And that shows me I'm losing even more of my board. So let's go to our board settings, and let's expand this by 2 inches either way. We'll change the 7 to a 9. And we'll change the 9-inch width to an 11. And that gives us more room to deal. Okay, let's go to text. We'll put it here. So we're all on the same page and understand. When you look at your samples here, you get an idea of how heavy the carve is going to be. Something that is small and light, or just light, is going to carve less deep than something that is very, very dark or wide. So you have to be careful. This impact, it's heavy to start with. Okay? And what happens is whatever fount you pick, if you make it bold, you just increase that depth even more. Okay? Doesn't make any difference whether it's 60 degree or 90 degree. It's going to go deeper because of what you see here color-wise and width-wise. And bold is going to say, okay, let's go even deeper. Okay, knowing all of that, I'm not going to use bold. And I also know that a V-bit is very narrow at the tip and it broadens out. The 60 will not be as wide as at the top of the board as what a 90 would be. You can also buy other bits and substitute using the 60-degree indicator and do a 45, which is less of a width at the top, or a 22 if you're trying to get letters that are pencil thin type things. And sometimes that pays, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose Times New Roman. I'm going to run down this list. Come on. I should have paused, huh? Times New Roman. And I'm going to do my spacing at a 12. Some people even use higher numbers. What that does is the distance between the letters, accounting for how deep you're going and what font you're using, so that you don't chop off the last letter you did with the next letter that you're carving. Okay? So I'm just going to put something like this is a test. And I'm going to make a center line and do an OK. And there it is. Okay, I'm going to lay it out centered horizontally. And now I can grow it so that I don't run into my edge. I can move it up and down, whatever. And once I get it where I want it, and it's the size I want it, I can stretch it. That's where it is. Okay, but I got to go back and assign the 60 rather than the 90 and say OK. I'm just going to double click on it, and there it is. Get out of it, and there you see what you have. Okay, just so people know, since we're right here, maybe I want more text here. I'm going to keep it at New Roman, and I'm going to do AskBud. Okay. That's not what I want. Okay. Now I did that kind of on purpose. I'm not trying to be corny. Just want to show you. I want to go down the frame. So if I come in here in between letters and put a space, see what it's doing? Okay. Come on. Here we go. There it is. Now what I have to do is size it. Let's go with a 1. And let's go with say a 5. 6. Okay. Oop. Didn't want that. Enter. Come over here to edit. Get rid of it because I don't want it locked anyplace. Now let's try that again. This thing so we can see it again. And see, the smaller it is, the harder it gets to read. So maybe this is where I would want a bold. Well, I know the other thing I didn't do is I didn't assign the bit. Let me see what that does. Let's assign a bit of a 60 rather than a 90. It goes to 90 by default. That's a little better. Okay. If I come over here and do a bit. Okay, I'm at the 60. So if I edit this, I can either double click here, or I can come over here and right click and come to edit. Do a bold. Okay. So because it is smaller, maybe the bold will be what I want there. Okay. It just shows you what happens. Okay. Let's say I want a pattern. So we'll go in here and we'll go to basics. Let's just put some corners on the bottom. Let's pick this. Come here. Obviously I have to flip it 90 degrees. Okay, I got it where I want it. And it's a depth of 250. I can change that if I want. I can change the height, but we'll leave it like it sets it there at 250. And I can go to layout, I can go to mirror, horizontal, and I've got it on both sides. I don't like this AskBud now that I've got the other thing, so I'm just going to get rid of it. And there we have our picture frame. You have to remember you got an 1/8 inch indentation on the back here. So whatever you put on this with a contour, if it comes into this inner side, you want to make sure that you've got enough boards left so that you don't get rid of your basic cutout, or that at least you still have enough wood that it doesn't make it disappear too much. But that's all up to you. You can put a recess, a carve area, and again, you've taken an 1/8 inch off the back of a 3/4 inch board, so you know how much of a recess you can have, and do something like that. On the back, we just have the one indentation, and on the front, we have our pattern. And that is just a basic look at a simple picture frame. I hope that helps.